What's up, world? YouTube, all the viewers out there. Week 6 coming up. Week 5's in the books. It's a done deal. A lot of statements made. A lot of teams really showing that they're the real deal. Players, we knew who the real big name players were, and they're pretty much keeping the names on the Heisman ballot. To be a Hokie fan, it's not a good year. It wasn't a good last week. It wasn't a good week before that. It hasn't been a good year. I'll be a Hokie until the day I die. I bleed burnt orange and Chicago maroon. But coaching needs to go. Not so much maybe Frank Beamer, an icon like that. I don't think that you get rid of. Even the way they did Paterno, obviously, that was a different circumstance. Bobby Bowden. Coaches like that, you don't force to get rid of. It is what it is. And they built your schools, and they're the ones that stay. Bud Foster, our defensive coordinator, you got some question marks this year. But you've proven in the past that you are, hands down, the probably top 5 best defensive coordinator in the country. So there is no getting mad at you. However, Scott, the offensive coordinator, is hands down the worst offensive coordinator I've ever seen in my life. He sucked at Auburn, and for a university to pick him up and say that there's going to be change is delusional. Scott, you suck. You, a 90-year-old lady, can figure out what plays that you're going to call. Quarterback dive, run up the middle, whether it be in shotgun or not, and a jet sweep. It's every time. I mean, every single time. Your playbook has a total of 7 plays. And unless they're paying you $1 for the year, you should be producing more than that because you suck all in general. They should fire your ass now and send you home. I don't know why they're not. So I have no faith in you, zero faith in you, your offense. You sucked at Auburn, like I said, and you suck now. A good coach can sit down, understand the talent that he has, and make it work. Make something work. The same shit is not going to work. It hasn't worked since day one with our talent. And you continuously run the same thing, hoping that it's going to change. And if anybody knows what the definition of insanity is, it's doing the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result. That's Scott. That's you, bro. That's you. That's you. Insane. That's you. So, enough of that. Enough ranting, Virginia Tech. I love you. Scott, you suck. I hope they cut you and fire you now. Or last week would have been great. Or actually, end of last year would have been just fine. Go Hokies, and they've got NC State Friday. So, get right into it. Week 5 came. Couple surprises. Nothing too crazy. I'm going to get right into it. Ohio State and Indiana. Indiana hung in there for a while. I think there's some talent there. I know that the tailback went out. I know Jordan went out. They still hung in there. Definitely poking at the #1 team in the nation. The only question that I have is, man, I think Urban Meyer might be starting the wrong quarterback. You watch now, Cardale Jones is not. It's not consistency. You know, he's turning the ball over. Ohio State's not blowing people out unless you got, unless Ezekiel Elliott's running for 1,000 yards a game. You have to look back into last year. Maybe Cardale Jones is the big game quarterback. Maybe he's a quarterback that comes in the big time and does big things. But looking back at it, T.J. Barrett carried the team happily last year. And besides for when they played Virginia Tech, there really wasn't a flaw in any of his games. The kid was a solid passer. He made good decisions as a freshman. I don't know. I think Ohio State might have some trouble coming up if Cardale Jones doesn't get it together. Now, if Ezekiel Elliott keeps running for 300 yards like he did, not really, but 200-plus yards a game, then they should be fine. But, it is what it is. Next big game, Ole Miss, Florida. I think that we blew Ole Miss up a little bit last week. They beat Alabama, yes. Alabama turned the ball over 5 times. It's tough to win a ball game when you turn the ball over 5 times. Nevertheless, they did beat Alabama. But when I think you blew them up out of proportion just a little bit. I still think that Alabama is the best team in the SEC. There's no question there. But I got to give a shout out to my boy Aaron. Florida did the damn thing. I mean, they came out there. They looked like a real team. They were a contender the whole time. They played tough defense. The quarterback was moving the ball like you should. And there's, it is what it is. I mean, Florida beat up on Ole Miss, and there's not a whole bunch of there's nothing really that you can say besides maybe Florida's the real deal. I mean, can their quarterback play consistently? Maybe. I picked Georgia to win the East. The way that they played against Alabama, maybe not so much. I think Alabama came out pissed, and I think they got tired of hearing about the media saying, "Oh well, Ole Miss is the team now in the SEC, and Ole Miss is the real deal in the West." Well, guess what? Maybe not so much, because Georgia's not a slouch, and Alabama wore them boys out. So the East, I think, is still for grabs, and obviously it's not South Carolina who's, keep everybody in Columbia in your thoughts and prayers, but the Gamecocks ain't going to do it. Missouri ain't going to do it. It's going to be between Georgia and Florida. So the meeting in Jacksonville, they're circling that day right now, both teams on the calendar. Florida's got a big one this weekend. Georgia's got a game against Tennessee this weekend, so they better watch that one. TCU and Texas. Now, if anybody watched this one, I called it. I mean, I said that it wasn't even going to be close at all. I mean, it wasn't going to be close at all. And TCU beat up on them boys bad. I mean, it was like 35 points, I think, on the first quarter. I mean, as a Texas fan, I feel your pain, but damn, boys. Good luck to you. Texas Tech Baylor. If anybody watched last week, I definitely talked about if you're going to take a spread. I think there was almost 100 points combined. You knew it was going to be a scoring game, but you knew Baylor was going to win. I called that one. Baylor looked good. There's going to be some reckoning in the Big 12. There's 3 really good teams, especially 2, and everybody got to play each other. So that's going to be interesting. The big one, at least for an ACC team, thank God we got one good one. Notre Dame, Clemson. I thought Notre Dame was going to come back. I think it was a terrible play call at the end of the game. Notre Dame going for the little quarterback run. Terrible decision. Give it to him on a rollout. Let him decide if he's going to pass or run. Give it 2 options. Keep the defense back, coach. But, that's why you get paid the big bucks, and I picked Clemson to win anyways. So Clemson beating up on Notre Dame, and Clemson, well, not really beating up, but, Clemson making a statement for themselves, and go ACC on that one. UCLA, Arizona State. I know I picked UCLA to win this. I don't think there's a whole lot of consistency in the Pac-12, because it seems like every time that someone is stands out and you think that they're the best, yeah, not so much. Arizona State won. I picked UCLA to win. It is what it is, I guess. I know I picked Stanford to win the Pac-12, so I'm not out of that completely. They look good to me, so I'm sticking with that one. So I didn't call that one. Obviously, we had talked about already. Bama, Georgia. Bama beat up on them. That's all there is to it. You can't count Nick Saban down, and you can't ever count the Crimson Tide out. They're that good. So Bama over Georgia. Texas A&M, Mississippi State. Mississippi State crept back into the top 25 there. A&M put them back in their place. It's going to be tough. A&M's going to be real tough in the upcoming years. Like I said, a team in Texas, kids that don't want to leave the state because Texas pride or whatever it is, teams don't want to leave the state. So here you've got a team in the SEC in Texas now, and kids can stay there and go to school there and play football there, but still play in the SEC. So, A&M is going to be a solid team for years to come, and they're not going anywhere, and they're not going anywhere right now. The SEC West is a ridiculous amount of talent. But I called A&M over Mississippi State. Stanford and Arizona. I took Stanford, and I picked Stanford to win the Pac-12. I think they learned from their opening loss of the year to BYU, and Don't sleep on them because they're playing good football right now. And the other one I missed was Wisconsin, Iowa. Wisconsin looked like garbage, I guess, kind of, and Iowa was just hanging on them. Iowa might upset some dreams in the Big Ten this year. We'll see. They're undefeated, so it could be a big question mark. So basically, that's your Week 5 wrap up. Let's get into some conference talk. Now, as far as your conference rankings go, after Week 6, I'm going to start getting into who I think is going to win the conferences in whole. There's still a couple question marks as far as a couple of them. For the most part, we know who's going to win. Some of them, but the others, I'm not real sure about. Obviously, number 1 is the SEC. I said I give a shout out to my boy Aaron. Florida. I mean, Will Muschamp he's not a head coach. He wasn't a head coach. He's a defensive mastermind, and that's where he should have stayed. They've got the new guy that came in from Colorado State, and Florida's winning ball games, and Florida's offense looks good, and their defense is always good. The Florida-Georgia game is going to determine the East. I mean, everybody knows that as far as the SEC goes. I will judge Florida this weekend, and maybe the week after. We'll see. If the consistency starts to show up more there, I think Florida is going to take the East. Not so much win the SEC, but at least win the East. But the amount of talent that's in the West, you have to take the SEC, or the SEC West is going to win the SEC. I mean, I'm still riding Bama all day. LSU, Fournette went crazy again. The kid's a monster. I mean, that's all there is to it. Ole Miss lost. They're still a good football team. Mississippi State's still a good football team. A&M's good. I mean, there's just a lot of talent in the West, unless you're an Auburn fan, and then your dreams just got run over, squashed, thrown in the garbage, and you guys are like in the recycling picking plant right now. I mean, you guys are like Virginia Techville almost. So the SEC is number 1. There's no question there. The second, as far as all-around teams, is the Pac-12. California is still undefeated. Okay, they're back in the top 25. They've got a big game this weekend. USC is still very, very, very good. Utah is really good. Oregon, rebuilding. They'll be back. They got cool uniforms. Everybody wants to go play Oregon. Stanford's very good. And Arizona State, obviously they're good sometimes. UCLA, I mean, come on. I mean, there's no question there. The Pac-12's got 5 in the top 25. But as far as all-around talent goes, I think they're the best out there. Next is the Big Ten. Ohio State, obviously, I guess, is the best in it. Northwestern still winning ball games. Michigan State still winning ball games. They've got 5 in the top 25 as well. Wisconsin, we'll see. Iowa's still undefeated. So there's a lot of question marks in the Big Ten, and I think Ohio State is going to have some serious issues. It wouldn't shock me if Urban Meyer pulls Cordell and puts in T.J. Barrett. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, just by watching last year, I don't even understand how Barrett got benched after last season, how he got benched. But, I'm not making millions of dollars, and what the hell do I know? Number 3 is got to be, or number 4 has got to be the Big 12. I mean, obviously they have TCU, Baylor, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State. There's talent there in Texas Tech, or not Texas Tech, TCU. In my opinion, if anybody's watched them play, might be the best team in the country. I mean, maybe their defense isn't as big. They haven't played anybody that really has a powerhouse defense as far as size and speed goes. Nothing like the SEC defenses. But as far as an offense goes, those boys are going to put up points quick, fast, and in a hurry, and lots of them. Um, they might be, I think they're the best team in the country. I mean, I know you can't dethrone Ohio State. They're the national champs and they're undefeated. I think TCU is the best team in the country right now. Baylor is definitely a top 5 school. And boys, it's another team that is putting up a lot of points, and they do it real quick. Their defense is pretty solid, but they're beating up on other teams in the Big 12. That's like saying that you're beating up on teams in the ACC. Kansas State's not that good. Kansas is not good. There's a lot of them. I mean, West Virginia's okay, but it is what it is. The Big 12 at number 4, and then we know who is in dead last. It's ACC because nobody seems to get their shit together. Miami dropped one to Cincinnati. They shouldn't have. Not saying I'm happy to see them lose, but as a conference, when Virginia Tech and Miami went to the ACC, they were supposed to be. They were powerhouse teams. They were winning games, not Virginia Tech. Miami was winning national championships. Virginia Tech was always in the top 10. And they went to the ACC. Virginia Tech was dominating the first 8 years and has completely fallen off. And here comes Miami, bam, undefeated. Shits the bed against Cincinnati on a Thursday night. That's just the way that it is now. And Virginia Tech's not getting better anytime soon. Miami can't seem to stay consistent. They've got a big game this weekend. Is it the rivalry of the old times? No, because Miami can't even get in the top 25. I classify Notre Dame as being ACC. Granted, they lost to Clemson. They're still a good team. Seeing how they're still starting with their freshman backup quarterback and almost beating Clemson. Clemson, in my opinion, is the best team in the ACC. Granted, yes, you have Florida State, who's lost two games, one game in the past 3 years. That's fine. I think it's going to be a different story this year. Deshaun Watson is the real deal as far as that goes. And, Clemson and Florida State and Notre Dame are going to be tied for the second best. But, the ACC literally only has 3 teams in the top 25. And that's awful. But, that's your conference wrap up. Now, as far as your Heismans go, I know I've been on a boy all year, Leonard Fournette. If anybody watches this guy play, I'm 31. I've been watching football my entire life. I've seen some good ones, some very good ones. I watched Ricky Williams play. I watched LaDainian Tomlinson play. Obviously, Melvin Gordon. Ron Dane. There's been some really Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush was a phenomenal college tailback. As far as total tailback, not speed and finesse, just power, strictly power, or show moves, or scoring a bunch of points. Leonard Fournette is probably the best college football player best college tailback I've ever seen play, and that's saying a lot. Ricky Williams is probably one of my favorite all-time college tailbacks. The guy was a freak. He really got abused in the NFL, and a lot of people think that he was a quitter or whatnot. The kid got abused in the NFL, but that's a different topic. But Fournette is better than Reggie Bush. Okay, he's better. I think he's better than LT was. LT was phenomenal in college. Don't get me wrong, but I just think Fournette is probably the best college tailback that we've seen in the past, 30 years. Power, speed. This kid is a sophomore. And whether or not LSU wins the SEC this year, they will next year. Whether or not they win it this year, I see LSU dropping a game or 2 this year. I don't see them being able to go unscathed, not through the West. They're just not built for it. Their quarterback's not all there. He's good to an extent, but they rod Fournette. I would. They rod him till the end. He's the best. He's the best player in the country, and there's no doubt about that. There's absolutely no question. Leonard Fournette right now is the best team or the best candidate for the Heisman right now. And if it were to give it out today, there'd be no question, absolutely no question, that Leonard Fournette would get it. The next 2 are kind of a toss-up. Ezekiel Elliott, I'm going to say, Trevon Boykin is probably number 2. I know that I said TCU is probably the best team in the country. I might be saying a lot, but they're pretty good. And if anybody's watched them play or plays FanDuel or any of that other stuff, if you don't take Boykin as your quarterback and just work it around that, then you've got some issues. The kid he's solid. I mean, he's damn good. He passes, he runs, he makes good decisions. He's phenomenal. I'm not gonna say he's the best college quarterback we've seen because I'm a huge Tebow fan, and I think Tebow is probably the best college quarterback as far as all around goes that we've seen, in the past 20 years. But Boykin number 2, I'm gonna say Nick Chubb. I mean, granted, he didn't have it wasn't a showcase game. They got their tails wore out to Alabama, but the kid's still good, and he still consistently puts up numbers. Him and Ezekiel Elliott are probably tied as far as that goes. Elliott, I mean, he's a beast, and if you watched him last week against Indiana, the guy should have had 300 yards. He had a 70-some yarder that got called back, and he finished with 230 or 240. Extremely good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he's could probably start on 4 or 5 NFL teams right now, no question. But that's the way that is. And then Henry from Alabama is my last one. I know I'm kind of all over the SEC, but as far as talent goes, I mean, obviously these guys recruit the best talent. I mean, if you look at a conference in a whole, that's them. So obviously Fournette's number 1. He's the best tailback I've seen ever play college football. I mean, that's all there's to it. Granted, it's only been 5 weeks. It's enough said. I mean, it really is. I mean, if you doubt me, just watch the kid play. He runs over people. He outruns people. He has moves. He's only a sophomore, so it's only going to get better. We will have him for 1 more year. Fournette, Boykin, TCU, very good. We'll throw the tie for Chubb and Ezekiel Elliott, and then the last one is Henry from Alabama. Beast modes, always good candidates for FanDuel or DraftKings. So that pretty much wraps up the Heisman talk. All right, now that all that's up, let's get into week 6. It's starting to come down the stretch where people, this is where it starts getting interesting. Halfway through the season, we're in October. Coaches are understanding where talent lies and how to play teams. And the big games are going to start coming, especially in the Big 10 and the Big 12. They're getting ready to start creeping on. The Pac-12's had some big ones. I would say the ACC's coming, but ain't nobody in the ACC worth a shit. So, the SEC's got the SEC, the Big 12, and the Big 10. I've got some big schedules ahead of them. Some stuff that's really going to define the rest of the season. But as far as week 6 goes, Thursday night they open up USC Washington. Now, in the past, Washington has sometimes jumped on USC. Not this year. It ain't gonna happen. Cody Kiesler is he's gonna go off tonight. He's probably gonna throw for 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. Literally, he might actually do it. But I'm gonna take out Southern Cal. LSU, USC. Being that I lived in Columbia for 6 years, got a lot of friends there. I know a lot of stuff happened. Had some friends die, or a friend die. Thoughts and prayers at USC. Nevertheless, I don't know if they've decided yet where they're going to play. I know they were talking about maybe moving it, maybe not. Despite what happens, thoughts and prayers with everyone in Columbia. But LSU, big. Fournette, big. All day, big LSU. Red River Shootout. Now, I would say that Anybody who watches football, that usually this is, always used to be a big game. Texas, Oklahoma, the powerhouses, blah, blah, blah. Texas is garbage. Texas is garbage. They're garbage. They need to go ahead and fire the coach and get their athletic director shit together and start to put Texas back on the map. They're really, really young, but they are not good. I mean, TCU ran through them boys. And in all actuality, Oklahoma should do the same. So I'm taking Oklahoma over Texas. Clemson, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, the coastal favorites, just dropping the shit in the bed right now. Clemson coming off a big win. If Clemson can control the option, they should win big. I'm going to pick Clemson to win. I think Dabo is definitely going to have these boys ready to go. I don't see Dabo letting them sleep right now. He's doing the whip and the nay-nay out there in the damn locker room. So Clemson over Georgia Tech. I think Dabo will have them ready. Tennessee, Georgia. Once again, Tennessee is probably one of the best three-quarter football teams in the country. They forgot that there is a fourth quarter to play in all football games. Georgia, I think with the way Mark Richt is, it's not going to happen. I'm going to take Georgia over Tennessee. It's a rivalry game. Tennessee, they can score points. I think that the Bulldogs are going to have a vengeance, a grudge coming out after the way that they were treated by Alabama. So I'm going to take the Bulldogs over the Volunteers. Next, Michigan Northwestern. I know that I was saying the big games in the Big Ten are getting ready to happen. Well, after Michigan's loss to Utah at the beginning of the year, they've turned it around. Davon Smith, I'm not real sure if they cleared him to play or not. I know he got bumped last week. This is big. This is a big game. I'm pretty sure it's in the big house, so Northwestern isn't going to be able to have the long grass advantage. I'm going to take Michigan to win this game. Northwestern is not a slouch, but the way Michigan's been playing since Utah, they're pretty good. And I know that I talked about it if you watch any of my videos. Harbaugh at the beginning of the season, I'm a fan of him. He's a player's coach. One of the 49ers are retarded for getting rid of Jim Harbaugh because, boy, you guys have got it down this year. Not really. I'm taking Michigan. It's going to be Northwestern's first loss. And Michigan is back. Maybe not fully, but in the next 2 years, they will be back. And they will be running with Ohio State as far as the Big Ten goes. Bama and Arkansas. Now, I know I always say Arkansas is going to knock somebody off the pedestal, blah, blah. It ain't going to be this one. Nick Saban had one of his rants again. His rants on his press conference rants are the best, and if nobody watches them, YouTube them because they're classic. Had another rant. They beat up on Georgia, and I think that the Crimson Tide are pissed, and I don't think Arkansas is going to be able to hang with them. So, I also said that Alabama's probably going to win the SEC. So, taking Bama all day. Let's see. Miami, FSU. I think that rivalry is not what it used to be. The wide rights, the wide lefts, the Thug U and the Bowden teams, it's just not there anymore. It was a good game last year, and I think it's just because they got hyped up. I don't see Miami winning this game. I think that FSU still is the better team, even if Everett Golston is not that great of a quarterback. I think they could have done better, but it is what it is. And West Virginia, Oklahoma State. I'm going to take West Virginia. They're not a bad team. They put up points against Oklahoma, and I'm going to take West Virginia. As much as I hate to say that or hope that West Virginia wins any games at all ever, it's like saying I want Miami to win games. Neither one of them. And then the late night game, big game, Utah, California, and shout out to my boy Pat and Bears. Finally back in the top 25, undefeated. Golf is over there doing his thing. California wins this game. And remember, I said it a couple weeks ago. California's gonna beat somebody. They're gonna shake up the Big 12 or the Pac-12 a little bit. Can they start here? I don't know. Utah looks good. I'm gonna take Utah to win it. As much as my boy Pat is gonna hate me for it, I don't think that California's got this one. There will be points scored in this game, but I don't think that Cal's going to score enough. So Utah over Cal. Those are the picks this week. I'm 27-11 for the year. It's not too bad, but I mean it is a winning record, I guess. I mean it's better than any other Virginia Tech thing's doing right now. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Big games. Everybody enjoy. Be safe. Everybody up there in Columbia, South Carolina, be safe. Thoughts and prayers are with you guys. And great weekend of college football. See you guys back here next week. Peace.